morning. Welcome to a Monday morning and tens of thousands of kiddos going back to school. Some of them went back to school last week, but the majority will be back in class this week. So we ask you to be very careful on the roadways, be very aware of more drivers, more school buses, and there's actually going to be a little problem with some transportation that we'll talk about coming up in the news you can use in just a second. We actually had an accident also causing some problems and a stretch of highway out in Bond County that is closed on Highway 70 in the westbound direction. All those drivers trying to funnel into downtown St. Louis, just west of Pocahontas. I start off with that for you this morning because that's definitely something you need to know. It is a truck that we were told tried to turn around, do a U-turn, and unfortunately hit another truck that was carrying grain, and that got all over the roadway. So that is a two-vehicle accident that did shut down that stretch. Again, westbound 70, just west of Pocahontas in Bond County. So if you know anybody that travels that direction, might want to give them a heads up, as they may have a problem getting into downtown. Again, that stretch closed and you will have to reroute yourself. Now, for the rest of you, the thing that I know a lot of you used to turn the news on for was, hey, Monica, I need the weather. I know, because you need to know what the weather is happening.
Alrighty, welcome back into this new more weather forecast video. This one has been looking significant for a couple of days. So
good morning to you.
Good morning, Monica.
Finally.
Nice to be here.
So we add all those things for you, news you can use, weather, sports, and then we get into our topic of the day. It is Medical Monday, and Dr. Richard Lehman will be joining us as Dr. Sarah Jensen is off. We've got our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore, with us, and I said that I was going to get rid of the clouds and get some sunshine. That's what we're expecting, right, Beckett? Good morning to you.
A lot of sunshine this week for sure.
No complaining at all. So as the kids go back to school, they should be happy. They're walking out the door. They're not standing at the bus stop in the rain, etc. This is your first full week as a freshman at DeSmet, correct?
Yeah, I'm starting tomorrow.
All right, we're excited for that. He had freshman orientation last week, so you'll give us a follow-up on Friday to let us know how it all went. As the kids and the parents are rushing around to get those kids back to school, let's go ahead and let them know what the forecast looks like today and throughout the week.
Yeah, so let's look at what we've got going on right now for your morning. About to maybe go to the bus stop here in the next 30 minutes to an hour. 68 degrees right now with a 64-degree dew point. It is humid out there, but definitely not too bad. Not oppressive humidity at all. That's something we could definitely deal with there at 64. 3-mile-per-hour winds, so calm winds. And tonight we will have the sunset at around 7:48. We continue to lose that sunshine as we head towards the month of fall. Now, looking at that bus stop forecast today, again, tons of kids heading back to school this week, as Monica just mentioned. 68 degrees this morning and sunny, and we're going to hold on to that sun as we go into this afternoon. High of 83 degrees. Again, pretty much this whole week is going to be below average until we get into this weekend. But 83 for our high, I know I'll take that. Very nice, the below average definitely for this time of the year. Lastly, our 7-day outlook. Again, 83 is our high today. Mostly sunny skies. Low of 61 tomorrow. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all in the low 80s and sunny. Those are going to be some great days to get outside. Make sure you enjoy it, because as we head towards the weekend, Friday 88, Saturday 93, and Sunday 94, we're going to be getting that heat to start creeping back into the area, but still no rain. Some more clouds on Friday, but no rain this week. So want to water your plants, and also as we head towards the weekend, make sure you're getting ready for that heat to come back. But enjoy these couple of days of below average temperatures.
Yeah, there's no complaining of that at all. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's funny though, Beckett, as you know, doing weather, that people are never completely happy. You're going to have now people saying, oh no, now I've got my plants I need to water. I got to get my grass watered.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something.
Yeah, you can't win, can you? All right, well, enjoy your day, and we look forward to seeing you again on Friday.
You too. Sounds good.
All right, aspiring meteorologist Beckett Moore. As you're just tuning in this morning, good morning. We are doing Medical Monday for you. Dr. Sarah Jensen is off, but Dr. Richard Lehman from the U.S. Center for Sports Medicine will be joining us this morning, and we're going to talk about several things. all types of injuries. And in the sports medicine world, Dr. Lehman said he's thrilled with some of these breakthroughs. One of them is called Bimini O2. Another is called View Motion, and it's actually going to give them an opportunity to see why back injuries are happening, hamstring injuries are happening, all those things. And then the therapy aspect of the Bimini O2. We'll talk about that. A new movie called Empty Lockers that is coming out later this year. That's got a sports twist to it. And he has a movie company that he's involved with. And he actually was at the Paris Olympics. So we're going to talk to him firsthand about what his experience was. As you're tuning in this morning, let me know where you're watching from. Would love to know the platforms, because we are right now on Facebook, both of my pages. That makes up about 35,000 of you. YouTube, X, Rumble, and Instagram. So I'm coming to you live from my home, since Dr. Lehman is going to be joining me remotely. So normally we would be in studio, on Mondays and Tuesdays. We want to give you the news you can use, and we're also going to talk about 2 live shows that you'll be able to come to. One of them is going to be in Pacific, and then another in Defiance. We'll tell you one next month and then one in October. And that could be what you do. We bring our show to your business and give you a lot of eyes and a lot of people, brand new people that have never been to your business. It's called Mobile Monica, as you see across the screen here. And I'd love to meet your business. I don't care where it is, the Missouri, the Illinois side. Let's do this together. All right, the news you can use. We had been talking about the Democratic National Convention getting underway. It kicks off with the current president. Joe Biden is set to speak. Kicks off today in Chicago. You may have seen last night in some of the national news, protests already taking place in the streets of Chicago. I hope that all remains calm. President Joe Biden is scheduled to give a primetime address. He will then leave for a family vacation as the 4-day celebration of the new Democratic ticket of Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz continues. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is also on the program for today. Former President Donald Trump plans to be on the campaign trail in York, Pennsylvania, where he is scheduled to speak about the economy. And there are also other speakers as far as things you want to watch with regards to it continuing throughout the week. The convention is just 90 miles south of Milwaukee, where the Republican National Convention was recently held. The Democratic Party has held a national convention every 4 years since 1832 to nominate its chosen candidates. Chicago, by the way, has a storied history of hosting the conventions on both sides of the political aisle, dating back to 1860 with the nomination of Abraham Lincoln. So again, on tap tonight, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will be speaking on Thursday. You'll also see former President Barack Obama will be there, as well as Bill Clinton. Now, having said that, House Republicans are releasing the impeachment report on our current president, Joe Biden, but the next steps into that are not certain right now. The latest information with this, they've released the initial impeachment inquiry report into President Joe Biden, alleging an abuse of power and obstruction of justice in the financial dealings of his son, Hunter Biden, and family associates. The nearly year-long inquiry by Republicans stopped short of alleging any criminal wrongdoing by the president. Instead, the almost 300-page report that is due out today ahead of the DNC covers familiar ground, asserting the Biden family traded on its brand in business ventures in corrupt ways that rise to the Constitution's high bar for impeachment. So we'll, of course, be keeping an eye to any new information on any of that. We'll be recapping the DNC all throughout the week. Now, bringing it local and closer to home, SLPS parents volunteering to watch kids at bus stops and helping with carpool amidst the transportation crisis. Thousands of students across St. Louis City heading back to school today with transportation up in the air for many, but parents and volunteers say they're working to ensure the kids get to school and that they do so safely. According to SLPS, on Saturday, August 17th at 11:45 in the morning, St. Louis Public Schools was notified by Extra Care Services that they are no longer able to provide 6 buses, which impacts approximately 1,000 students at Adams, Ashland, AESM, Booter, Bush, Carlane, Columbia, Compton Drew, Dewey, Gateway STEM, Jefferson, Lexington, Long, Malamphy, NCNAA, which is kindergarten through 8, and then also NCNAA at Roosevelt, Oak Hill, Roosevelt, Shaw, Washington, Montessori, Werner, and Yeatman. As a result, SLPS staff are diligently working this right now to ensure that parents are notified about an alternative plan. And again, if you want to volunteer for the Adopt to Stop program, you can sign up and find information at slps.org/adopt a stop. Again, slps.org/adopt a stop. You can find carpool or offer assistance by looking up their Facebook group, SLPS Carpool Connection. In sports news, the Cards coming off a loss to the Dodgers, 2-1. Now they are off today. Tomorrow they'll play the Brewers, and that's actually a series that will kick off tomorrow again. And first pitch, by the way, will be at 6:45. So if you're new to the show, we give you the news you can use. We give you all the weather information you need. We give you some sports news as well. That's what I feel you needed to know. A lot of people want to be following the Democratic National Convention, and I highly recommend, no matter where you are on the aisle, on the either side of the aisle, that you listen to both sides. Again, that's how you become educated. That's how you get informed. Give both sides a chance. And if you're still up in the air, independence, listen to the policies. That is the most important information. And then get to the polls and exercise your right to vote. It is 7:12. I've got some exciting news for you. Okay, I told you we are out and about in the community, and this time we're going to take over the Pacific, Missouri area. Ready for Yeah, Jim and I stopped by yesterday, the Landing Hub. It's a boutique hotel owned by Shane Mayer and Jen Blakely, and we are so excited to be featuring this. The Landing Hub in Pacific. We will be there on September 12th, and we hope you can join us as well. I'll talk more about this near the end of the show because we want to get to Dr. Richard Lehman, but mark your calendars right now. Save the date, September 12th. We will be there in the evening, and then we're going to go over to a sister business that they have that I'll talk to you about here in about 45, 50 minutes. It's called the Cigar Vault. So that's going to be September 12th. And again, we'll talk more in depth in about, like I said, 45, 50 minutes. And then October 4th, mark down our 400th show celebration. Be there with your friends, your family, go after work, whatever you want. That's October 4th in Defiance, Missouri. And that'll be held at the Watering Hole, which is affiliated with Circle 6 Farms. We've been talking about this for a while now. It's just down the street from the farm. Why is it called Circle 6? Because they have 6 people in their family. And the farm, again, raising the most incredible meat that you have ever had in our area. They have the #1 bull in the country. So we're talking about really high grade beef. It is, again, Defiance, Missouri, right down 94 as you go to do that turn. A lot of you know where the biker bars are. That's where we'll be. And this is the outside look of it. I'm sure a lot of you will be gathering there because it's going to be beautiful. We're already making Beckett ensure that it's beautiful weather, that we can be outside and inside. All right. It is 7:14. I'm going to take our first quick break. And when we come back, Dr. Richard Lehman joining us as we talk about Medical Monday and all the aspects of some new things that are breakthrough for injuries. Stay tuned.
Come on, Monica. Let's go, St. Louis. Turn and burn.
Hello, Miss Monica.
Monica.
Hi, guys.
This is a good one. Sometimes you spend like 10 years and you don't got one like this.
Hi, Monica.
It's a feast. It's like a 17-course meal. You just like, you need a minute. With wine, with a wine pairing and a whiskey pairing.
That is what. There it is.
I think I just have the most beautiful experience. I saw fireworks.
Thank you, Monica, for making our day.
All right, it's a special Medical Monday, and we are having Dr. Richard Lehman, a very dear friend of mine that I've known for, I think 30 years. You've seen him on the show in the past. You've seen him in a lot of the promos that we have running, but I haven't had a chance to have him back on. Fresh out of the Olympics. We're going to talk about all of this. Dr. Rick, how have you been?
Oh, I've been great. It's been a crazy busy lead up to the Olympic Games in Paris, and has been kind of a whirlwind, but the United States did pretty well, and we're glad to be back.
Absolutely. So were you there for all of it?
No, just 4 days and then 2 days. So kind of picking the events that I had to cover and the athletes that I had to cover. And the events, I didn't really get to see, to be honest, I didn't really get to see the stuff I wanted to see as a participant. I was doing medical as a spectator. I wanted to see basketball, and we were just too busy, but I didn't really get to see some of the participation things that I wanted to see.
Well, so what was the most exciting for you?
Well, I mean, most of my stuff is track and field. So I do a lot of track and field. I cover the events. I see the athletes. I've been taking care of these kids, most of them since they were in high school. And I think the most exciting thing, if you give me one sentence, it would be Sydney McLaughlin breaking the world's record.
Yes.
She's a world-class athlete. She's been a patient forever. She's a great family. But I also think we had great moments. Simone Biles, phenomenal. Gymnastics was unreal. I think some of the swimming events were unreal. There were some negatives in Paris. The Seine River was contaminated. We had a lot of infections. And this whole Chinese TMZ doping scandal was kind of a big deal. But I think from how did America do and how did the Americans present themselves, I think it was a win-win.
Absolutely. The U.S. athletes class across the board. If you're just tuning in, Dr. Richard Lehman, again, we have been doing collaborations for so many years, long time with U.S. sports medicine in Kirkwood, a wonderful orthopedic surgeon. I've sent tons of my clients to him over the years. They all sing his praises. And as you mentioned, working with athletes of all levels, all ages, and you have for many, many years. But before we get back into the Olympics, you've also been busy yourself. You and your wife are incredible when it comes to walking the walk and talking the talk and being in shape. Tell us about this. This is back in February?
Well, it was always a dream. I always wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And when I said to Michelle, who's a plastic surgeon, I said, I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Let's do it. She just thought I was out of my mind. She's like, well, you're crazy. So we trained for about 3 or 4 months, and we went and had a great guide, and 5.5 days up, 2 days down. And really, it's not that the end is tough because there's no oxygen. So for the last 5,000 feet, so about 14,000 feet to 19,000 plus feet, there's no oxygen, everything's dead, and that's a tough part of the climb. But the rest of the climb really wasn't all that hard. There's some technical parts, but it was a feat, and it was really, really fun. So if you ever get a chance that you're hanging out in Tanzania, go climb the mountain.
Well, you know what's on my bucket list is Machu Picchu from a
Oh,
physical standpoint, mental, and a spiritual standpoint. Have you done that?
I have, and the Inca Trail is something. If you get a chance to do it, there's two ways to go. One way to go is to take the train from Cusco, which is great. I've done that, and the other way to go is to do the 4-day hike. It's called the Inca Trail, and
Mhm.
it is an amazing experience. Then you end up in Machu Picchu and you visit, and but really the Machu Picchu at the end of the Inca Trail is almost an afterthought because the hiking, the beauty, it's just insane.
Well, my friend, isn't that about life, right? It's about the walk that we get until we get there. It's appreciating that journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, you're in such great shape, but it's the training for it, and it's a camaraderie and the beauty, and as you said, it's extremely spiritual. So, again, Machu Picchu is one of those things. I don't know that it's going to be around forever.
Right.
They're having some issues with erosion, etc. They've closed some of the areas. So, again, if you're going to go, it's on your bucket list. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll, make it happen. I know I wanted to do it for my 50th birthday, which was 3 years ago, and it was closed down because of the pandemic, and they started talking about the erosion. So yes, I need to make it happen for sure. Again, we're talking about so many levels of things to take you out of your comfort zone, do the training, challenge yourself, just like all of these athletes. So you just mentioned Sydney. I mean, I got so many chills watching her, and just the beauty of her spirit. Beyond her athleticism, she just looks like a person who would light up the room when she walks in the room. Would you agree with that?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, a great family. So, interesting story. Her dad, whose name is Willie McLaughlin, ran with a guy named Greg Foster, who was a very famous hurdler.
Mhm.
And when I first met Willie, I said, "Oh, I heard you ran with Greg." And he said to me, "I ran behind Greg." He said, "I could never run with Greg," which was a great comment from a track guy because, giving deference to Greg, who was a great friend and a great athlete. So great family, very spiritual, really puts things in perspective in terms of her success. And you have to really hand it to her instead of saying me.
Yep.
This is in God's hands. I give great credit to God. So kind of refreshing in today's athletic world, which I live in 24/7. But again, she's broken the world's record 6 times, which is amazing. She broke the world's records at the trials in Oregon, and then broke the world's record in Paris. And I don't know what's the limit. I mean, I don't know how much better she can get. I'd like to say one thing very quickly. I'd like to give credit to Bobby Kersey. Bobby Kersey is her coach, and she broke all the 6 world records under him. And I don't think anyone realizes the genius that he has imparted on this whole thing. And not just her. I mean, Florence Joyner, Jackie, many at 34 gold medals. But in this particular case, I mean, he is truly a scientist. So kudos to Bobby.
Yeah, and you're seeing Bobby there in the picture on the left. Let's talk about Bobby and Al and JJK. It really, I mean, the story with you and your connection to all these incredible Olympic athletes, does it start, 40 years ago with JJK?
Yeah, no doubt. Another kind of interesting story. So a guy named Ivory Crockett, who was a 100-meter sprinter, who I took care of, called me and said, "Hey, there's this girl. She's got an ankle injury. Would you see her?" I said, "Sure, I'll see her." And this was right when I started practice, literally. And he said, "She's in East St. Louis. Her name is Jackie Joyner Kersey." I was like, "Oh, wow." So I drove over, and she'd seen 4 or 5 doctors trying to get ready for the trial. She couldn't get well. We treated her. We got her well. And so I flew to the trials, figured, I'll just go see what this is all about. I didn't know anything about track and field, didn't know anything about anything. And someone said, "That's her coach." And he's sitting in the last row, in the last seat in the corner. And there's maybe 300 people there. It's a 30,000 person stadium. And Bobby's way at the top by himself. So I walk up there and I introduce myself. And Bobby doesn't say a word. I Rick Lehman, glad to meet you. I've been treating your wife. He just looks at me like, turns back to doing whatever he's doing, looking at his stopwatch. So I spent 3 days, and after a day, I said, this guy's not getting over on me. I'm going to sit here, and he may not talk to me, and I'm not going to talk to him, but I'm not moving. So 3 days I sat there. He didn't say a word. I was like, this is a weird guy, but okay. And he called me the next day. "Thank you for everything you've done. You're amazing. I want you to see all my athletes." We've been best friends ever since. Bobby and I talk every day. And we've been to, obviously many battles, Olympics, Allison Felix, you go down the list, Athing Mu, Joanna Hayes, gold medalist, Dawn Harper, who you know from St. Louis, gold medalist. So his accolades we don't need to talk about. He's the greatest track coach ever lived. But that's where it all started. And Jackie and I, we just did a special on Channel 5. I don't know, right before Paris, I think. It's really good. And talked about her injury in '96 and how she came back and medaled, which was a miracle. She had a complete tear in her hamstring, and how we've been friends ever since. But Jackie, besides being a great trainer, I don't have to tell anybody this, is just an unbelievable person.
Yes.
So good for the community, so good for kids. I mean, you just can't say enough good about these two people. So, again, I wanted to throw it out there because it's easy to say, "Oh, Rick Lehman did a great job getting these people healthy." But that is a tenth of the story. The story is how Bobby, I think it's a team, we call it Team Kersey, but I think Bobby is far and away the unbelievable mind of track and field. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, and I'm so glad that you said who JJK is. Jackie Joyner Kersey is such a class act, and what she's given back to our area, St. Louis, East St. Louis in particular. But same thing, just like Sydney, when she walks into a room and meets, it doesn't matter who she meets, right? She becomes your best friend immediately.
Absolutely. And Sydney's like that. Sydney's, very, very personable. You get a little, but you get 2 minutes or 10 seconds of her after she wins her her race, which she always wins a race, which is amazing. But that's not really her. She's very personable. Her husband is an ex-NFL football player, Andre Laverne, who's another great guy. It's just been a great thing. But I think that in the world of sports, again, you hear all the bad and you don't hear all the good, right? You don't hear the great people. You hear about this guy got busted for drugs and this guy beat his girlfriend, and but these are truly class act people that you would say, hey, if you want to babysit my kids, rock and roll. Where you couldn't say that about a lot of these athletes.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's the whole thing about this world, right? We need more of what Doc and I are talking about. Let's talk about and let's celebrate the good human beings. And yes, there are bad people out there. And you hear these stories of athletes acting up and doing this and doing that and trying to get their acts together. But we need more of this because these are the true role models. So when you were in Paris, I know you did a lot of media. So you sat down and actually were talking about your story with Bobby and with JJK. This was the documentary that you were talking about, right?
Yes, and we did. It's such an interesting. The Olympics is such an interesting place because on one hand, it's all about the competition, and on the other hand, it's all about the media. What gets to this country, what gets to that country, sponsorship, how are you going to sell it? So in a way, you're seeing the finished product, and Rick Lehman and the athletes and all the producers and all the directors are making it so it just seems so seamless and so smooth. So a lot of media, a lot of general information being dissipated, and we did a special. I did an interview with the Danish press. I mean, all kind. You just end up doing all kinds of weird things as people want to talk to you about different things. And the main things that they want to talk to you about, you can't talk about, right? You can't talk about anybody's injuries. You can't talk about your training techniques. Why would you give that up? So really, maybe they get to know Sydney, but she's never really going to tell you how she got to where she is, because why would, that's your secret sauce for your ribs. You're not giving anybody your sauce secret for the ribs you're making. So Sydney's not going to tell you how she got to be so great. But still, you get an idea of the personalities, and you get an idea of the work that goes into the training, which is beyond anything you could imagine.
Insane, right? When you think of and all the kids are getting ready to start back to school if they haven't already. This is the week that they will be. And you think about first-time athletes, or you think about the transition from grade school to high school and the level stepping up, and then high school to the collegiate level, and then eventually maybe going pro. And it's that type of training. You and I have talked about in the past the aspect of overtraining or being pushed a little bit too much. And is it really their passion? You hope that they're the ones that love it. But you see all that play out. You hear all the stories. The drama unfortunately sells, and you would hope that you would have more of these endearing stories of hope. I mean, that's what I love. When you watch the Olympics and you're brought to tears, it's because you sit there and think of yourself as an athlete and, oh my gosh, dreaming of going to the Olympics, and you don't make it to that. So then you see these athletes who took it that whole nother level, and that's where the chills come from.
Well, you just made a really, really good point, and I think the work load is incredible, and you don't want to overwork it, and that's true. But I also think, we poo-poo the guy who finished third or fifth. But can you imagine, like Brandon Miller from St. Louis went to John Bros High School. I think he finished sixth. It's his first Olympics. He'll be a true champion. He's just a superstar. But if somebody said to me, hey, Rick Lehman, you can go to the Olympics, my sport was tennis, and play tennis, one match, and get killed and lose first round, what a dream come true, just to go. So I think when we say, Sha'Carri Richardson didn't get the gold, well, wait a minute. I mean, she's the second best sprinter in the world. Let's not, this is okay being the second best sprinter in the world. And I think the idea of just competing for your country, it's amazing.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what people always forget. It's what it took to get there. And then for those that really do finish in the top 3, 4, 5, it's applauding every single one that crosses the line or whatever, however they participated in the sport. It's the fact that they got there. We didn't get there, they got there. And that's a big deal. The only one that I question is the break dancer from Australia.
That was so classic. That was absolutely epic. I mean, everybody was laughing. The comments, I can't even, because this is, whatever, family show. But I mean, this was epic. And some of these athletes, you should have heard them. I mean, you know what? Kudos. I mean, that's everything everyone's talking about.
I just don't get it. I mean, and there's, like you said, there's so many memes and so many things that have been turned from that. And you just sit there and go, I don't understand. How did this happen? All right, everybody, if you're just tuning in, our Medical Monday with my dear friend, Dr. Rick Lehman. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to transition. There's a movie that he's affiliated with that's coming out, you said later this year. Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
All right. We're going to talk about that. We also have some breakthrough things in the orthopedic and in the sports world that we'll be discussing that can affect you and your kids in their sport. All of that coming up for you next on The Real Monica Adams Show. He wants to say, I can't believe I took your son's life. I don't know what I was thinking. I have so much regret and remorse. I've changed my life. Would you accept that apology?
I've never thought of that. Yeah, I would.
Do you think, because you talk about forgiveness, do you think that you all can ever forgive one another and come back together?
It wasn't just right. I'm not perfect. Just because my name is Bush, I don't have it all figured out. And I think they know that too.
I was cyclically depressed, so I could be the happiest person you ever met at 11 a.m. I could be on cloud 9, and by 7 p.m. that evening, I'd be sitting on a couch with a gun in my hand. And hard not to get emotional. I
never feel sorry for being emotional.
I really, I was at a space to where I couldn't believe that I had brought my children into this.
Where's the light? Because many of you probably feel that there's this darkness and there's this thunder cloud that's constantly over you. This family has dealt with so much.
Our journey is our journey. There has to be purpose in this pain. There has to be something more powerful. I have to find something to be blessed about every day. I have to count my blessings and have gratitude every single day.
So very powerful. And I actually want to say thank you to Amy Post, who you just saw there at the end. She's going to have me on her show actually later this morning at 10 a.m. And you can see those stories that she has, the stories of hope, on Amy's podcast. We'll talk about that for you as well at 10 o'clock this morning. Actually, it'll be live. So be sure to tune in for that. If you're just tuning in for our Medical Monday, our special edition with Dr. Rick Lehman, again, orthopedic surgeon extraordinaire and a very dear friend of mine for the last 3 decades. We were talking about the Olympics, wrapping that up, but I'm excited about this. So coming later this year, empty locker. Tell me about this.
Well, this was a concept by a friend of mine who played football at FSU, Florida State University, under Bobby Bowden. And he called me and he said, I want to do this project and I want your help. And I know you have a lot of athletes that you've taken care of. And I said, Joe, what's the concept? And he said, the concept is, so you play football in high school, you play football in college, you get built up to be this paragon of excellence, you're given everything, you're put on a pedestal, and then you graduate, you didn't get drafted, and now what do? And you know what you do? You get dropped like a hot potato. Mm-hmm. No one could care less because you're not going to the NFL, and you're totally ill-prepared to go out in the world to do anything. Everyone's done everything for you. You probably didn't graduate, and you've got 1 million credits incomplete. And now let's see what's happened. And when we look at these kids, so we went out and we found 100 kids. We looked at these kids. It's the saddest thing you've ever seen. I mean, you talk about getting brought to tears. Homeless, jobless. Some of them moved back in with their parents if they had parents that had domiciles. Just the worst situation you could ever bring. And the idea of the movie is to take this cohort. This is not a small cohort. If you think of all the college football programs in the country, and then you figure there's probably 60, 70 kids in each program, you're talking about a pretty significant number of kids every year. And try and go to these schools and try to find educational value and try to help these kids. So let's say you take the University of Texas, and let's say you got 60 or 70 kids last year that just graduated, didn't have a job, didn't have any skill, didn't have anything. A couple of them are going to coach, and then you got 60 kids, 50 kids that are basically skillless. So why don't we go back to the alumni, which, every college has significant alumni, and let's try to hire these guys. And maybe it's working in your sushi shop, or maybe it's a financial services thing where you're an intern or whatever. But let's use the resource. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
Let's use the resources of the college and go back and give these kids that you basically built for the 4 or 5 years they play football, a job, possibly some on-the-job education, and move them forward, and just instead of like dropping them. And when you see some of these stories, and some of these kids are big names. I mean, they didn't make it in the NFL. Okay, they were hallmark college football players, some of them All-Americans, and now all of a sudden, they have no skill. Well, what can they do? So the premise of the movie is called Empty Locker, is to interview these kids, and once you hear these interviews, you're going to want to kill yourself, and then go back to universities and say, hey, these kids are a resource. They have skills. They have time management skills. They're in shape. They've worked hard. They know what working hard is. They have an ability to help other people, teammates, etc. They're team players. Let's use those skills and invoke those into your companies instead of hiring off of someone you have no input from and don't know at all. So right now it's been unbelievably successful. Corporate America has been unbelievably generous, and we'll see how the movie turns out. The idea really, yes, it's going to be a movie. Yes, like The Blind Side, you're probably going to shake your head, wow, this is terrible. But on the other hand, that's not really the goal. The goal is to help these kids and to bring awareness. So somebody says, you know what, I went to University of Florida, and I'm going to go get Tim Tebow and give him a job, or this guy or that guy. Because the truth of the matter is, very few of these guys even get one play in the NFL, 3%. So 3% of college athletes are going to go play NFL football, one play. And then how many are going to be Peyton Manning? One, Peyton Manning.
Right.
So, the idea that you're going to go there and be a superstar, and you can count them on your hand, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, but most NFL football players play 2.5 or 2.8 years and are never heard of again. And yes, some of them coach, but a lot of them do nothing. And again, it is a unbelievably sad statistic.
You and I have talked in the past, and this goes on multiple levels, but you think of a person, again, they're this high school standout, and they go into college, and then they get drafted, and they go into NFL, or whatever the sport may be. Or we separate it and we take it away from sports, and we think about the president of a company or the CEO of a company, and what that does to the psyche when suddenly, or I could even use my husband, right? Retiring after being a lieutenant, and then suddenly you don't put the uniform on anymore, and you feel, what is my identity? And how difficult that can be when they're not seeing their worth and their value except for what they did from a professional standpoint. They're not thinking about who they are as a human being, what they're giving to the world, and they're not communicating that. And just you and I have discussed this, just how unbelievably dangerous that can be.
You're bringing up maybe the most important topic in my mind for everybody, I don't know, over 55, 65, and that is men and women the same. Their identity is, and you're no different, I'm no different. Right. So if I retire tomorrow, my identity is knowing all these athletes, going to these events, people call me at 2, 3 in the morning, we're sending this athlete in from Belgium, etc. Now all of a sudden I'm sitting home, I'm watching Rachel Ray, I got some Sudoku over here. What is my identity? And so you just brought up maybe one of the most important topics. And so imagine that when you're 21 years old, you're the running back, you're the guy, you got your letter sweater, big man on campus, everybody's helping you, etc. And now all of a sudden no one can care less, right? You have no identity. So on a completely other level, which you brought up very well, this might be one of the most important things that we have to deal with, and that is the retirement of somebody who's been in power. You have people that hate their job and they can't wait to get away from it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that guy who's so or girl who's so wrapped up. And I'll give you a perfect example. Sheryl Sanders, she was the CEO of Google. when you leave, what is it? And so that's what a lot of athletes deal with, right? You're Tom Brady. He can't walk away. I mean, and so the boxer who goes out and boxes 3 more times and gets absolutely annihilated because they can't walk away, or that guy that gets traded to another football team or baseball team and they're terrible for 2 or 3 years, and that's what you remember. You don't remember Jerome Bettis winning the Super Bowl and walking off the field and saying, I've had enough. Most of these guys play 3, 4 more years. They get traded to 5 teams. They're terrible. They get hurt, and it's just a disaster. So you have brought about something that is so vitally important, and we don't really have a good answer for that.
No, but it's something that Rick and I have talked about for a long time, because we think we need to get into corporations, make people start talking, start going on stages, talking to thousands of people, and so they can sit there, probably be extremely emotional because they'll feel like, oh my gosh, Rick and Monica are talking directly to me. We are, because each and every person, you just said it. You've been an incredible physician for all of these decades. And then suddenly it's, am I ready to make that transition? Hopefully, mentally and spiritually, you're already preparing for that. Because at some point, yes, you've got to make that transition to the balance of life. You and I both are very big into staying active. We can turn to our, working out, or turn to hiking Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever you want to put on your bucket list. But making those things happen and having your spirit be okay with letting go of the one part of you, which was not who you are, but what you did.
And I personally think you're right. I mean, I think you and I should put together a program. I mean, this is maybe for a different day. And
no, this is manifestation right here, Rick. Manifestation.
Right, and because I think a lot of people sit home, they go through this alone, and I think like you said, like you said, Monica's talking to me. This is exactly, and helping them understand that their self-worth isn't really just wrapped up in the fact that they were the CEO of Monsanto, and that they do have self-worth, and there are other things, and then kind of charting what you do. Okay, that's great. Now I understand I'm not terrible, but now what do I do? And then taking them through programs to do this. And I think that's vitally important. And I'll tell you, when I talk to CEOs that retire, I really kind of get depressed because I hear what they're doing. You can't play golf 10 hours a day every day for the rest of your life. That just isn't going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some breakthrough things that are happening in the sports medicine world, and it's going to affect you, maybe as an athlete right now, maybe the kids as they're coming through the system. This is really big. Rick's really, really geeked out about one of them. He said, this is huge for a sports medicine guy. So we're going to talk about that on The Real Monica Adams Show when we return.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my 2 best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
As we get ready to wrap up summer, we're talking about the closing of the pools, unfortunately. I know that's always a sad time for those of us that have pools, and we feel blessed to have this in our backyard. If you don't have one, Madonna and the team at Just Pools, the pool and spa specialists, have told me they can get you this year. They can build that so that it's ready for you next summer. You talk about those backyard oases that so many people built over the last 4 years because we were home more, right? Well, that could look just like that. The water features, I talked about the rock and the fire features, but it's also about how beautiful the water looks. So they're going to have the 10% off the chemicals and then 30% off of those pool toys. Load up, even if it's the end of the season, you'll have it for next year. All those fun toys, the games that the kids love. And then right there, if you want to transition from pool season to hot tub season, they are pool and spa specialists. And Madonna and the team told me that they have many new ones that are coming in. So they're on the West Outer Road. Check them out. Just Pools, pool and spa specialists, again in Arnold. Welcome back. It's the Real Monica Adams Show, and we are thrilled to have you along. Dr. Sarah Jensen, by the way, will be back with us a week from today. She was taking her girls to college, both of them first year. One's going to San Diego, one's going to Indiana. Empty nesters, that's always a difficult thing. But yeah, we're talking about back to school for sure. And the athletes, again, maybe it's their first year in college. It's also very different. The level definitely changes up. So we went into the break talking about some exciting things that I hadn't heard about. And that's why I love when we bring Dr. Rick on, because he talks about things in his field that he's truly excited about. Let's talk about, is it Bimini O2?
So the Bimini O2, kind of an ingenious thing that I never really thought about. So we've always had this hyperbaric oxygen that we thought would help healing, and it hasn't been everything we thought it might be. And somebody developed an oxygenation with hyperoxygenation to treat initially injuries like concussions, head injuries, etc. Mm-hmm. And it's very effective. And eventually what it has turned out to be is looking at soft tissue injuries in general. So a concussion is a soft tissue injury. It's your brain, it's still soft tissue. And so we're now looking at hamstring injuries, stress fractures, overload, etc. So we know that oxygen builds healing. The more oxygen you have in the muscle and the soft tissue enhances healing. And talking about Mount Kilimanjaro, the more oxygen you have in your lungs actually increases your ability to sustain height. So one of the things that we're looking at is actually trying to get rid of people that have high altitude sickness. And this is a disaster. And you always hear about it on Mount Everest. They get above 20,000 feet, they get pulmonary edema, and they all die. Sounds terrible, but they do. And we think we can treat high altitude sickness. So, but from a sports medicine, the Bimini is a hyperoxygenation. We're using it on our athletes that have mostly hamstring injuries, overload of the rotator cuff, overload of their Tommy John, their ulnar collateral ligament in the elbow. And I've got a girl flying in from Virginia this week. We're going to treat her stress fractures. We've not treated stress fractures yet, so we'll see how it goes. But we've had significant success in MMA fighters who have concussions, and really we don't, to be honest, don't have a lot of success treating concussions. So it's not like you take this pill and your concussion is over, or you do this and your concussion gets better. We don't really have a good way to monitor it. We don't have a good way to treat it. And this may be opening the door to figuring out hyperoxygenating the brain to get concussions not only heal quicker, but more importantly, more efficiently and better, so you have no post-concussion syndrome, which you hear about in football players all the time, the dreaded dementia that these athletes get, and then ultimately bad things happen.
Well, you obviously piqued my interest. You know, you were the first person I came to after my car accident. I can't believe it's like almost coming up on 3 years now. And I have been dealing with concussion problems all of these years. And so when you told me that this existed, you know, obviously right away, anybody that's ever dealt with that, whether it was an athlete or you've been in an accident or any kind of trauma, it's crazy because nobody can see the physical injury. So I don't know if it was you or somebody told me about a book. I think it's called The Ghost in Your Brain or something like, or The Ghost in Your Head or something like that, where it's just this aha moment of anybody else that's dealt with this. You get it. You get the brain fog, the pause and I can't find the words, right? So many levels of things, that blank stare. And you get so scared because you're like, what is going on with me? Mine, fortunately, has gotten better over the years. But when you mentioned this, I was like, okay, wait, I got to, because it's still there. They're not completely gone. Where would we be able to have this? Where does this exist right now?
Well, right now it exists in St. Louis, and I can and we have a unit, and we can set you up for a unit. It's pretty simple. You lay in the thing. It's not magic, and I think WashU will have the second unit in St. Louis, and we'd like to actually put it in some of the PT places that we deal with throughout the metropolitan area. But again, you hit it on the head. CTE is the severe form of it, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. You hear about athletes, but people that have post-concussion syndrome have just what you said. Some of them are a little photophobic, bright lights bother them. Sometimes they just have this quote-unquote brain fog, and they just feel like I can't think completely. I can't say the words that I want to say. So again, this is the first inning of this, but we've had unbelievable success so far. It's not science yet, even though Bimini probably tell you it's science. It's not science yet. But we need to treat 100 people, 200 people that have documented concussions. The problem, and you know this, is we don't have a measure. We can't. There's no test that you say, okay, today you have a concussion, now your concussion's healed, or you're 50% better, and it's all clinical. So really, in my mind, to make it science, we would need some objective measure. So a lot of it's going to be subjective, but in the 10, 12, 14 people we've treated, they immediately see a response once they've been hyperoxygenated and say, I feel better, I'm thinking clearly, my headache is gone, et cetera, brain fog is better. So subjectively, we think we're going in the right direction. And one day there'll be a test that says, okay, Monica, your concussion is 91% resolved. We'll retest you in 6 months. But today we just don't have that ability.
And so if someone's being treated this way, how often are you having them lay in this? And and then for that matter, how long are they having to do it?
So you're usually in for half an hour, and we've been doing it monthly. I think we should be doing it weekly. I don't, and again, we're kind of working through the process. So I personally believe, and some of the neuroscientists that we've dealt with personally believe it needs to be more frequent, and we'll get faster results. Part of the problem, just to be 100% honest, is finding the unit. So if you are fighting out of New York City, finding that unit isn't so easy. If you're here in St. Louis, it's pretty easy because we know where it is, we use it, et cetera, et cetera. And I think as it becomes more prevalent, the data is more out there. So just imagine you were the UCLA track coach, and I don't know, let's say you have 10 hamstring injuries a year, or you're the United States Olympic track coach and you have 10 hamstrings getting ready for the Olympics. What a benefit it would be if you could treat those and get these people back at 60, 70, 80% quicker. So I think as the word gets out, like most things, let's say Ozempic, it didn't take long for everybody to start taking that stuff. So I think once the word gets out, we'll see more units and we'll have more access.
But if somebody wants that right now, you have one in your office?
No, we don't have one in my office, but there is one in St. Louis that's 100% accessible to us. We can set you up, and no problem.
I think you and I need to talk after the show. I think I need to do this and then come back on and talk about this because, again, there are still things that linger. I mean, it was scary in the beginning because obviously, as you know, this is what I do for a living. I talk, and it's all, nothing scripted. And it's off the cuff, and you're like, where are the words? Where are the questions? How do I find that? Fortunately, lights didn't bother me, but some people, the light, the sound, all of those things. And my heart goes out to you because I get it. I've been there. Besides that, you are also talking about something that you said from a sports medicine standpoint that you're really excited about. So VM or View Motion, is that what it's called?
That's what it's called, View Motion.
And so tell me about that.
So View Motion is an AI generated data platform out of Australia. Okay. And basically what you do is you set up whatever you want to set up. So let's say you want to watch somebody throw. In my case, let's say I want to watch a sprinter run over hurdles, let's say, or high jump or long jump. We set up cameras. On the track, it's 20 meters, and we can and we take all this data, we send it to Australia, they send it back, and it can tell us body position. So it will tell us, hey, you have this propensity to tear your hamstring. It will tell us if you do this, you will take 0.2 of a second off of your 400-meter time. And it basically gives us all this data, not only for injury prevention, which in my case is the big ticket, but for performance enhancement. So how to throw a baseball harder, and it's all AI. So it's not Rick Lehman looking at the TV saying, "Well, that guy should run faster." It's all these infinite number of data segments. And so, for instance, I have a girl right now. I can't get into her name. I won't get into her name. And we've got all this data. And when I look at the data, I said, it's no wonder you have anterior shin pain. Look at your pelvis. I mean, this is a disaster. Well, there'd be no way a year ago we could possibly have made any diagnosis, anything like this. So I think this won't be the first, that's for sure. I think AI technology is going to change the amount of data that we have, and we'll use that data initially to treat all these athletes, improve their performance, treat their injuries, say, hey, if you keep doing this, you're going to tear your hamstring or your hip flexor. But more importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to take this data and we're going to film the people that are young that might have a propensity for degenerative arthritis. So let's say your mom had a total knee when she was 45. We're going to film you and we're going to say, if you do this, this, and this, you're not going down that path that your mother went down or your dad went down or your auntie went down. And we think we're going to be able to treat low back pain or prevent low back pain, and then treat a lot of these diseases more mechanically. So instead of giving you some medicine or an injection or this or that, treat these diseases before they become chronic or needing more treatment, i.e. surgery.
I think the last time you were on, which was, I think, last fall, we talked about AI, and we talked about AI in medicine. And, people hear artificial intelligence. They either love the idea, they freak out about it. So they're like, it's robots. They're going to be taking over. They're going to drive us off a cliff. I'm like, okay, come on, just calm down and research more. But, for you, I mean, here he is, a respected orthopedic surgeon saying, I love this. When you sent me this picture, the first thing that I looked at, and it's from a personal trainer standpoint, I looked at all the lines and I'm like, this is what we do when we're training clients. And we can see, which again is fascinating because AI is so far advanced from us, but you can see what's going on. And I'm, for instance, I was training my client this morning and she's like, so Monica, my low back's bothering me. And I said, right. So go back in front of me and let's see what's happening. And immediately she, we were doing kickbacks for triceps, but her legs were straight and you could see this arch she had in her back. I'm like, soften your knees and then dip down more for me. And then let's pull those elbows up and let's do the proper form. I mean, literally within seconds, she was like, oh, there it is. No back pain anymore. And I'm like, right, alignment, right? So when I looked at the picture that you sent, I was like, you can see the turn of a foot. Well, that's why if you constantly do that, your knee is going to be bothering you or your spine or your hips or whatever, all in the gait, whether you're walking or you're running or whatever the sport is.
No doubt. So now let's take, I don't know, the Lindbergh High School track team that have no injuries, right? And do view motion on all of them, and then say, if you keep doing this, this is what's going to happen. This is how you're going to run faster. This is how you're going to jump higher, etc. And scraping all the data that we have through thousands or hundreds of thousands of videos and saying, we know that when this happens, and on a personal level, you're so well trained, you can look at it and you can say, look, this is going to overload your back. This is going to overload your hip. But it'd be impossible for you to go to every high school in St. Louis and look at every athlete. But this makes it possible and it's actually relatively inexpensive. You sign up for the app. I don't know how much the app is, whatever it is. It's not that expensive. And if you could then pre-tension all your athletes to say, or your hockey players, or your baseball players, or your pitchers, or pick your poison, and decide this athlete can only do this. We need to fix this before all these injuries occurred. Then you'd have something.
Absolutely. Again, if you're just tuning in and you've missed the 45-minute talk, you've got to go back. That's the beauty of streaming and multiple platforms for you to see that. We're going to take a lot from this show and you'll see it in reels and stories throughout the platforms that don't stream live. So look on TikTok and Instagram. I love the fact that since Rick was on with me last fall, we now have gone to 5 platforms. So Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, Rumble, all of those for our live streaming. And then you can watch on TikTok some of these, some of the reels and stories as well later. So if you didn't hear our 45-minute talk, Bimini 02, this View Motion, we did a wrap up of the Olympics and then talked about the movie. So one more time, Empty Locker, you expect it to be out by the end of the year, you said, in theaters, right?
Yes, so it'll unquestionably be in theaters. Go see it, please. uh, and I think that I think it's a concept. You know, you brought up kind of an ancillary part, so I think the concept is very important. But I think your perception of not only football players but people in general is very important. But I think really this whole process of changing, you know, whether it's retiring, changing professions, self-worth, etc., you know, center spiritualism is all wrapped up in this. So it's not a football movie. It really is a movie about believing in yourself and understanding, you know, your value isn't that you bowled a 300 or you shot 72 at golf. And I think your perception of this, Monica, is much better than mine, and I applaud you for that.
Well, you just said the word that I love, that literally when I walked away from television, it became my mantra. So know your value just as a human being. The more you know that, the more it empowers you and gives you that confidence to do that side step. Again, whether it's coming out of a sport or whatever the business is, that there's so many levels to us. There's so many that you have to tear off and say, oh, that's right. I have this to provide the world. I have this. I have this. You and I'm telling you, we put it out there before. Someone is going to book us, and then it's just going to be a ripple effect from there. I would love to take the stage with you and change lives on yet a whole nother level. Rick and I have been talking about these different collaborations. Obviously, we've been doing so much with each other over the last several decades. I mean, I've been a trainer for 26 years now, and I've given so much of my clients when they say, okay, I think you're getting ready to see actually one of my clients this coming week. She's been having some hip pain. So Rick is the person that I always say, all right, there's nobody else to go to. I know at some point, though, you're going to say, Monica, I'm finally doing it. I'm retiring. And then I will trust him to say, okay, as they can't come to me anymore, they're going to come to this. But you don't have retirement in your future.
Now, I mean, you know, it's so fun. I hate to say it, but it's such a fun job, and it's so self-rewarding. And and yes, I am wrapped up in it. I just think I would miss, you know, turning on the Olympics, turning on a baseball game. I'm going to watch the Dodgers, and I'm going to go see a couple buddies that I've taken care of play. I mean, you know, there's just no. I just can't see walking away from that yet. But I'm sure one day, as you said, I mean, I'm going to say, enough's enough. I'm not good at it anymore or whatever. And I'll tell you what to do at that time.
Please do. At some point, Michelle will be like, come on, Rick, let's just spend our retirement together.
She will.
Well, you are always a pleasure. You're always welcome back on the show. Just stay in touch with me. And obviously any new things that you're really excited about, just send them my way and we'll have you back on.
Awesome. Listen, you're wonderful. Everybody's lucky to have you out there, and thank you.
You're such a sweetheart. Thank you. Everybody stay tuned. We've got a couple things before we wrap up the show that'll all be coming up next here on The Real Monica Adams Show.
You are truly an incredible human being, and just what you're doing is so inspiring. This was really a cathartic experience for me. So I appreciate you, love you. It's been an honor to not only just be here on set with you, but just to sit in your presence. You inspire everyone around you, from your motivational speaking to your podcast here, to just being the human that you are.
It's just such a joy to be able to see you at this point in your career. Really following your passion, fulfilling your dreams, and encouraging other people to do the same.
I feel that I've been missing out. I believe God places people like you in people's lives for a reason. You have definitely been a God wing for me.
All right, everyone. We are so thrilled that you tuned in for a special edition. Again, not in studio, but here from my home with Dr. Rick Lehman. You just saw him right there. He's just hanging by. We'll talk here in just a second. Thank you, Rick. Again, we greatly appreciate you being a part of today's show. And of course, each and every one of you, thank you. Debbie just said that she thought that this is a great show, and just a few comments came in. I think a lot of you were just sitting and watching today. Luann said great show as well. Thank you for that. I did see some comments from Marilyn earlier. She said, I agree. So many retirees just sit around waiting to die, trying not to outlive their money. They're not sharp. We need a Cliff Note series on how to thrive in retirement. Julie Fabian said it's a blue moon tonight. Another one, huh? Manifesting the thing to do today. Joy said, same for our retired military. Again, losing their identity. This is one factor of suicides in our former and retired military. We need to find a way to support and prepare this group better. Amazing comments. And what an amazing concept, Marilyn said. Love the idea. Empty locker. Thank you to Doc Rick Lehman. Thank you again, all of you, for tuning in today. I mentioned at the end of the show, we would tell you what's coming up this week and some shows that you can be a part of. Again, mark this on your calendar. I'm going to give you 2 dates right now. One of them is September 12th. And then the other is October 4th. First of all, September 12th, we will be at the Landing Hub, which is this really cool boutique hotel concept. That's the outside of it you see from 2 different views. And I want to thank Michelle Harmon for taking these pictures for me, and thank our team working behind the scenes, Ashlyn Cross, Kelsey Oglesby, and we've got a new intern starting from SIUE, Hannah Ledford. So all 3 of them in studio working on some things today. But yeah, the Landing Hub, I hope the crew can all be here for this. See that on the left side? That is actually taken from the Taj Mahal. They brought that into the Landing Hub. So you'll see that as soon as you walk in the door. That and that cool little airplane for the kids. There are a lot of people who have been enjoying the staycation aspect, bringing their kids, bringing the family. There are weddings that are being booked there, conferences, trainings, things like that. And look at this. Is anybody in your family a Star Wars fan? They can sleep in these Star Wars pods. There's so many levels to this, again, at the Landing Hub, but they're also affiliated with the Cigar Vault. So we're going to be broadcasting live from 4:30 to 6. This one's 4:30 to 6. 4:30 to 6 p.m. And then afterwards, we're going to go down about a mile. You're going to go right near the train tracks. This is the main drag of Pacific, Missouri. And we're going to go over to the Cigar Vault, which is another one of their businesses. We stopped by there yesterday. Jim was so impressed and, of course, had to grab a cigar for himself. There he is, firing it up. The thing that he loved is that they're not carrying these massive big brands, right? It's kind of like not going into a big box store. They're going to introduce you to a lot of small businesses that make incredible cigars. And here's a view, by the way, of the inside of the place. If you're not a cigar smoker, it doesn't matter. You just go and have a lot of fun with the community that we've built here. Have a drink, just peruse all the cool pictures that are on the wall, and just have a good time with us. Again, in Pacific, Missouri. You just walk outside, listen to the train. Right down the street, some great places to eat, and maybe even grab something and take that in. So that's September 12th. We will be showcasing the boutique aspect of the hotel, again, from 4:30 to 6. And then hopefully a lot of you can come right down the street with us and visit and do some more of the social aspect. I want to thank Ashlyn Cross putting together this really cool promo about where we will be celebrating our 400th show, which is October 4th. And that one will be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. We've been talking about how they have the most incredible meat that you will have ever tasted. Take a look. All right, so it's called Circle 6. And as I mentioned, it's because they have 6 in the family. And if you have not been there yet, it's down 94. Again, as you're heading in from the Defiance area in towards Augusta. And right as you do that turn around the bend, they're right before that on the left-hand side. It's that green building. And over the years, maybe some of you have rented bicycles to go out on the Katy Trail. That's what they took over. And I've been showing you the outside view from the back part of Circle 6. So you can go inside, grab something to eat, and then when you're there on October 4th, maybe you gather around, listen to some good music. This is the stage, by the way, and they are so patriotic. They are very big into faith, family, wonderful food, and a lot of fun. So 2 big events that I would love for you to be at, again, on September 12th, and then on October 4th will be with this beautiful lady. That's Tiffany Winkler. You go to the inside, get your food on the left side of the building, and on the right side, that's what you're going to see. She and her entire staff taking care of you. They've got fresh produce. They've got the right side of the picture there, by the way, is for the dogs. So get something for the doggies, take home, and then a lot of things that you can just buy just like you would have in a regular market. So I can't wait for that. Marilyn says, okay, Monica, game on. Have not had a good cheeseburger for over a year. If I'm brave, I will order that. You will never have a better one. Let me tell you. Again, their food is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, I'd love to see you. Okay. And then tomorrow, this is something that I have been working on for the last week or so, ever since Officer Travis Brown was injured in Ferguson. We will be getting an update on how the officer is doing, because we are going to sit down with Ferguson Police Chief Troy Doyle. I am very much looking forward to seeing him again. He used to work with St. Louis County, and then he's been in Ferguson as the chief, I think for about 15 months, they told me. We're going to sit down, get an update on how TJ, Officer Travis Brown, is doing, but more importantly, what can we do to change the division in our world? You know, he had such a passionate press conference about a week ago talking about how they've changed this, they've changed that. They even changed the uniforms because people were saying that the uniform was a trigger. So many aspects. And I would love for you to gather the community. I don't care what mindset people have. I want them to listen and I want them to comment. And if there's something that just fires them up, put it in the comments. I mean, this is the real aspect of life. If you get frustrated about something, you feel that the police aren't doing something that you think they should be doing, put it in the comments, because if you don't speak up, then how do you expect change to happen? Chief Doyle will be listening and taking your questions and comments. So that will be tomorrow morning, again at 7 a.m. We'll have Wet Your Whistle Wednesday again this week at Defiance Ridge Vineyards with Chuck Gillentine. Really enjoyed last Wednesdays. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. We were doing the comparison of Riedel glasses against Josephine glasses, and there was a huge difference. And then on Thursday, we are back with Jessica Cook, our Positive Talk Time segment, continuing to update you on the big gala that's coming up in October that I'd love to see you at. That's another event that you can find on our website, TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Just click on the calendar of events and you'll see where we are out and about with our regular shows, and then with all these cool news shows that pop up as well. So some big things to come. Now, I do want to let you know, I just got an email, so this is kind of breaking news, from Amy Post team and from Amy. I mentioned that I was going to be on her podcast coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. However, she just wrote and told me that there's an emergency with her daughter. So they said they will be in touch soon to reschedule and ensure that everything is set up for a new date. So her Advocacy and Hope podcast is not going to be on live today at 10 a.m. Again, if you know Amy, she was on our show with her book, Out of the Gray into the Light, and just a very powerful story about what she's gone through with her daughter. So there's some type of emergency that they have to go through with their daughter. We'll update you on that, and I'll let you know when that does get rescheduled. All right, everybody. Yes, prayers for her as well. Yes, what an amazing podcast that was. Okay, before we wrap up, thank you, by the way. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And Sarah, can't wait to have you back with us next Thursday. Let's do our Jesus Calling. Thank you to Marilyn. And Marilyn, I look forward to getting the gift and the book that you left for the Real Monica Adams team on Thursday when I get back. She left that at Yuppie Puppy, by the way. Yuppie Puppy Pet Spa in Cowdleville. Okay, I cannot believe it's the 19th already. Kids all back in school this week. Jesus Calling. I continually call you to closeness with me. I know the depth and the breadth of your need for me. I can read the emptiness of your thoughts when they wander away from me. I offer rest for your soul as well as refreshment for your mind and your body. As you increasingly find fulfillment in me, other pleasures become less important. Knowing me intimately is like having a private wellspring of joy within you. This spring flows freely from my throne of grace, so your joy is independent of circumstances. Waiting in my presence keeps you connected to me, aware of all that I offer you. If you feel any deficiency, you need to refocus your attention on me. This is how you trust me in the moments of your life. This is a book we read from called Jesus Calling, Enjoying Peace in His Presence, Devotions for Every Day of the Year from Sarah Young. And when I'm home, I read from that. When I'm in studio, the books that a lot of people have asked, what are those books? They're called 100 Days to Freedom, and they are from Stephen Arterburn. You can find them on Amazon. I picked up the ones that we had at the Crossing down in Chesterfield in their bookstore. Marilyn, yes, sounds good. I am sure you will enjoy it. The chapter on kind. Love Jesus Calling. Thank you. No, thank you, my dear friend. Let's see who else. Debbie, I think I saw something. Marilyn, Gala check. Have our tickets. It will sell out. Do not wait too long. That's right. Get your tickets for the Yuppie Puppy Gala. I will be there emceeing and auctioneering and raising big money for them. That's coming up on October 19th, and that will be at Whitmore Country Club. If you haven't purchased your tickets, get them now. Debbie said she loves Wet Your Whistle. And okay, I think I got everybody's comments. Let me bop over really quick to Instagram. We had some people that were on there. I don't think anybody asked any questions though. Nice to see Eric Lovelace. I don't think he's on anymore, but Eric was, I'm actually consulting him. He is an up and coming anchor working in Columbia, Missouri right now. I saw Dr. Salim Hawatma had tuned in. Dr. Hawatma will be joining us on Men's Health. He is a urologist with South County Urology. He and his father are absolutely incredible. Dr. Abraham Hawatma and Dr. Salim Hawatma. So a little shout out to them. I'm going to manifest this. I saw Barrel Blends tuned in, so we'll have to follow back up with them. And a Fox News contributor, she used to do business news for our local Fox station, Susan Salovic was on earlier. I'm giving little shouts out to them. Love when you join on all of the platforms. And you can always let us know if you're brand new to the show, how you found it. Did somebody introduce you? If so, we love that. And that's the thing that we ask you to do, is always to share and like and follow our live stream. 7 a.m. Monday through Friday on the platform that works best for you. Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, Instagram, and they'll look for reels and stories to pop up on all those platforms as well as TikTok. I hope you've all enjoyed today's show. Tomorrow, again, back in studio with Chief Troy Doyle. I do hope that you can join us, whether it's for the entire show or just bits and pieces, and then you go back and watch the whole aspect of it. That's the beauty of streaming. I hope you all have an incredible day. And remember, go out, be anything you want to be in this world. And before you do anything, though, before you even say hi to anybody else, remember to smile and be kind. God bless you all.